people that like to make money, they get into making money. Intelligent enough to be full-time traders. That's why they become influencers in the first place. TJR, he's on camera shaking his ass and like making jokes. We're probably gonna get a McLaren like next month, just because it's cool. We're young, we're rich, whatever. And Jeffrey Epstein talked about this. We're not fans of Jeffrey Epstein by all means. Charlie Kirk is secretly alive in Antarctica with like no evidence whatsoever.
I've been in the financial space for almost 20 years, and I almost got scammed. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of FinanceFeeds Podcasts. My name is Nikolai Isayev. I'm editor-in-chief of FinanceFeeds. If you like our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and post comments on our videos. Today's episode is actually coming to you from, remotely, but from Toronto, Canada. I've got a very special guest with me today. His name is Ivan Patriki. Ivan's a fintech marketer and co-founder of QuantMap. It's a quantitative analytics platform serving a community of over 7,000 traders. Ivan, welcome, and thanks for joining us all the way from Toronto, Canada.
Definitely. And thanks for having me, Nikolai, on Finance Feeds. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast and to be a writer.
You're welcome. I wanted to basically talk about scams today. I think it's a very important topic. And I want to start out by saying that I really appreciate the work that you did in February. You published a very good article on Finance Feeds, I think, that kind of sheds light on finfluencers, I guess we can call them today. People that are basically out there on social media promoting, a lot of the time, I guess, promoting a very wealthy or rich lifestyle. They're living the great life, and they're telling people who are their followers or their viewers, hey, you can be just like me. You can make money. I do this, I do that. I trade, or I invest in crypto, or whatever. I started a token of some sort, et cetera, et cetera. And I think you kind of shed a lot of light on this problem. I think it's a global problem that's going on. And I think you bring a unique perspective, because I would count you yourself as an influencer, because you've built a financial audience that exceeds, I think, 300,000 followers today across multiple platforms. And I know that you do it in a very unique, sort of trustworthy and honest way, right? I think you have a background where you kind of got into the influencer game a long time ago, and before it was very much mainstream. And I wanted to ask you, maybe you can give us a little bit of a backstory, and you can kind of follow up on that article that you wrote on Finance Feeds in February, and kind of take us through what you're seeing today, and kind of can help our audience understand this whole phenomena.
Definitely. So I want to start by just saying the problem we have in the finance space in general, I think it's always going to be worse in this space than it is in any other space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because people that like to listen to music will make music. People that like to play soccer will play soccer, or I guess football, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
People that like to, paint, they'll paint. People that like to make money, they get into making money, right? And in like the music space, you're not going to have as much fraud just because the passion is about creating arts. In the finance space, the only passion is about making money at the end of the day for a lot of people.
Sure.
You don't get into trading because you're passionate about stocks. Every trader I know, maybe some of them, they convince themselves to like it, but at the end of the day, their long-term goal isn't to be day trading every day. So by the nature of the industry, if we're getting into this industry just to make money, and you can expedite your finances, you can expedite your growth of your bank accounts by doing things that might be illegal, most people will do that because the only reason they're in it is to make money. And that's why I'm in the finance space. That's why everyone's in the finance space.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important, I think, for us to even look at it in the perspective by default of this person is only here to make money. Does he have the values that would prevent him from rug pulling somebody in the future?
Mhm.
Because otherwise, it's a free for all. Like you're just gonna do anything to get away with it. And yeah, the way that I started doing content, you asked, my story. Um, it's been a while actually. I mean, I started my first, business venture when I was 17. I remember when I was like 12, I was like, I'm gonna be rich and famous when I'm older. And then I turned 17, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not rich and famous yet. I'm a failure. So I started my, marketing agency. And through that marketing agency, I made other people rich and famous, made a little bit of money. I hated it because I was working for other people and it was so boring managing editors, scripting, but I learned a lot.
Mhm.
And through what I learned working for them, I even helped like some course sellers. I remember one of my clients was this real estate guy who was selling like a program on how to sell real estate. This guy's program was horrible and he was making so much money.
Uh-huh.
And I saw it firsthand, like how all the marketing behind the scenes works. I said, okay, screw these guys. I'm gonna make my own content. And then I did. And yeah, I think it's really important to basically differentiate yourself as a content creator by being somebody that other people can trust, because you can pretty easily group almost every finance day trader that's kind of MySpace day trading.
Uh-huh.
You can group all of them into kind of the same bubble, which is horrible. All of them trade ICT, all of them trade a course, all of them promote some, you know, unregulated prop firm that has a really bad history with payouts.
Mhm.
Some of them even, publicly lost their license, and none of them have like a greater ambition other than I need to make money right now. Like my ambition is I need to make money to make a positive impact on the world. And I need to bring up my audience. I need to bring up the people that like me so they could also make money and make a positive impact on the world.
Mhm.
If you don't have that, you know, what you're making money so you can like do hookers and blow, like I'm sure it gets boring at some point. I haven't done it yet. I'll have to get back to you if it does get boring, but I think it's important to have like greater ambitions, and it's also important to like actually check the values of the people that you follow and make sure that what exactly do they want to be doing in the future anyways. If they're okay with making $5 million, they can just rug pull their audience, make $5 million, then leave. A
Mhm.
lot of people do that. Um, but yeah, that's my story. That's how I got into the finance space. That's how I became a content creator. I started, really pushing the finance content because I co-founded QuantMap with two of my co-founders that are very good at what they do, and we were able to put all of our skill sets together.
Mhm.
Me as someone that trades and is also very good at fintech marketing. Carson Hine, he's exceptionally good at trading. One of the best traders I know, and he's a very young guy. And our, developer who's built out the software, Jay Lewis, I think one of the reasons as well we were able to build such a powerful system and product is because we were able to, you know, do it as a team. We can all use our special skill sets. When I started my agency, it was me and my Indian manager and like 50 subcontractors at some point, and it was just horrible because I had to do technical stuff, I had to do invoicing, I had to do accounting, I had to manage Gurpreets, but also like people in the Philippines, but also like Colombians. And for me, it was insane. All I wanted to do was content. All I wanted to do was like things that creatively stimulate me. And you could say that it's lazy, and it is lazy, but I was able to capitalize on my laziness. I don't want to run everything on my own. I'm just gonna get famous and figure it out. And that's what I did, and it worked. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I can understand where you're coming from because look, when you start any business, and if it's you and a couple of people, and you start to scale it, you obviously, yeah, in the beginning you're doing everything. You're doing the invoicing, like you said, and you're doing a whole bunch of other things. And if the business scales and grows, that's when you could hire yourself, an accountant and all this stuff, and kind of spread it out, like you said the way that you and your co-founders work, everybody's got their own niche, right? Your marketing content, y- uh, uh, fintech marketing, etc. Other people do the trading. Other people are, like you said, developers, people who know code, probably, and all this kind of stuff. So, kudos to you. That makes total sense. I guess I wanted to dive like deeper into the sort of scams discussion. I completely understand where you're coming from a trust perspective, right? Again, when I look at, I'm someone who's been in the financial space for a good part of almost 20 years. And yes, I have an Instagram account. And yes, I have social media accounts. So I'll look at social media. And because of, let's say, my experience in my own personal and professional profile, I will look at a guy who's, again, he's on Instagram or some other social media, driving a Lambo down the street in Florida, and just by looking at his stories and his posts, I can see that he's living like an exuberant lifestyle that to me looks too good to be true, right? If you do day trading, like if you do any kind of investing in financial markets, right? Whether it's the traditional assets like currency, stocks, whatever it may be, or DeFi stuff like crypto, tokens, whatever it is, at the end of the day, in order to have realistic gains, you have to be very realistic with your risk, right? And when I see a lot of this kind of content for myself, I look at it and I'm like, this looks shady, right? I'm not going to accuse anybody that they're being, untrustworthy or anything like that, or the courses that people sell in terms of the people that are online pitching, hey, I can teach you how to basically make 300% profit in trading, or I can help you launch your own firm, or I can help you launch your own crypto token and phew, to the moon or something like that. I'm not gonna basically accuse anybody of anything, but again, coming from where I'm coming from, a lot of times I look at this and I'm like, no, that looks shady, and that's to me though, right? Because I have that kind of profile. When you look at people that are my generation or younger, like your generation, I don't know what they're thinking when they see this kind of content, and whether or not they're clicking the buy button to buy these courses, or they're looking at this person and saying, "That's who I want to be," right? As some sort of role model or something like that.
I think that a lot of these people are just two things, right? What you're seeing with these course sellers, I've seen it happen in real life to where somebody genuinely makes an insane amount of money purely from day trading. It is something that happens,
Mhm.
and I've seen it. Like, I know people, full-time traders that are offline, and they just trade something similar to what we trade, and they're extremely successful. At the same time, trading, like anything in life, it's extremely contingent on your IQ, on your pattern recognition, on your impulse control, on your discipline. And a lot of these influencers are genuinely just too stupid. And I'm sorry to say it, but they're just not there enough, like mentally,
Mhm.
to be a full time trader. And that's sort of where you have this trust issue. A lot of people, they're kind of alienated by the whole concept of day trading. And honestly, most people should be, because for most of human history, I mean, you and I, as like, Russians, we were literally like potato farmers for most of it, right? Like,
Hmm.
we're not really, most people aren't born to be sitting at a computer doing like in-depth financial analysis.
Yeah,
So to ask somebody to just, go out of what they've been doing for thousands of years, it's very difficult. Most people can never, acclimate to that.
sure.
But that being said, some people, if they play their cards right, it's one of the best things that could ever happen to your life. You know, I've made money off of it. I've seen people make money off of it. What I want to talk about is how you can basically discover if someone is a credible person or not, and how in my article I talk about illegal influencers. What does that even mean, right?
Mhm.
Essentially, the the thing with these influencers is that because they're not intelligent enough to be full-time traders, that's why they become influencers in the first place. And the way they make their money is brand deals, sponsorships, one-time posts, affiliate links. They sell a mentorship, and they also sell some sort of course.
Mhm.
So I'm I'm sure the people watching this that are in this space, they know people that genuinely don't make any money trading,
Mhm.
and they make all their money truly from selling a trading system, and they make so much money doing it. In fact, you know, TJR was recently exposed for it. I think Dodgy's under fire, Tory Trades. It's basically an open secret at this point. You don't want to accuse anybody for legal reasons. I'm not accusing anybody, but it's an open secret that these people don't know what they're doing.
Mhm.
And because when they started doing content, it was so early on in the game, there wasn't really anybody to check them, nobody, to call them out for it. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters on social media, it's not if you're right, it's not if you're wrong, it's not if you're anything. It just matters if you're engaging.
Mhm.
So there's this guy, Iman Trades. He's this YouTuber that like makes these in-depth exposing videos. He's so boring. He's not on Instagram. I don't want to watch this like 1 hour breakdown on why I can't trust someone. That's so boring. TJR, he's on camera shaking his ass and like making jokes. Who do you think people are gonna trust? You might think the boring guy, but no, all that matters is getting the attention in the
Mhm.
first place.
Mhm. Mhm.
So these, people that maybe aren't smart enough to trade are definitely good enough at content. They build that audience. And if, let's say, for example, on average, someone leaves your trading system, your trading school after 3 months, and then within that 3 months, they give you 3 grand on your course.
Mhm.
They spend money on your affiliated prop firm, which some of them have offers like 50%, you know, affiliated broker, and they're also getting your mentorship. That's like average customer lifetime value of like 5 grand per person that goes through your funnel. So they don't actually care if you lose, because if somebody loses, you can just tell them you lost because you're just not good enough. You lost because I gave you everything you need. You just didn't spend enough time trading. It took me 3 years to learn how to trade, and you only gave up after 3 months.
Mhm.
You need to keep giving me money. It's like insanely messed up what they do. They tell people it took me 3 months, or it took me 3 years to learn how to trade, which is why you need to be giving me money consistently for 3 years. And on top of that, they sell a high ticket course because they know if they sold the course in monthly installments after the first time you pay for it, no one's gonna get rebilled for that. Like one time offer, and then they're gonna stop paying for that. So high ticket one time course, monthly subscriptions, and they know what they're doing. I mean, look at the older videos. They all know what they're doing. I got very, very blessed. My team is amazing. We're building an amazing product. We don't have to sell courses. We don't have to sell mentorship. We only sell a good software. But I won't lie, like I get DMs, people DMing me like, "Hey, can you do one-on-one coaching for me? I really like what you're doing.
Mhm.
Hey, can I pay you just to like teach me how to trade?" And I think as an industry, we need to basically give the middle finger to anybody that is still doing these paid courses, these paid mentorships, because that's like, think about it like this. We all know implicitly that day trading is extremely difficult to do,
Mhm.
and that most people will never make it no matter what you give them. To tell people I can teach you how to trade like me, even though most people are just too stupid, have low impulse control to do it,
Uh-huh.
it's just not a good thing to do, you know? Selling people the dream of the Ferrari and all that. And look, we're probably gonna get a McLaren, like, next month, just because it's cool. We're young, we're rich, whatever. But telling people, "Give me," G pay me upfront and you're gonna learn how to trade, which is what all these course sellers do. It's terrible. I think the only way to ethically, sell a trading retail product, it isn't the education stuff, because education stuff, that's so broad. That's so broad. It's all available online. It's so broad. Half of it doesn't work. You need to give people like real value,
Mhm.
and need to give people a way out if, they realize they're just not intelligent enough to do it. And not in like a mean way, but it's like, yeah, every time you have the urge to full port your account, maybe trading's not for you. You
Right.
know,
Mhm.
you notice, you're a drawdown like half of the time and you're super stressed 24/7. To be fair, that's a lot of traders. I think the only way to like properly fix this issue is every time a course seller is selling a mentorship, they're selling a course, they're selling some sort of educational thing.
Mhm.
You basically need to give them the middle finger and associate that the info education stuff,
Yeah.
you're a scammer. Because not only that, it's also that all the education they sell is the same. They all sell the same education. They sell lines on charts,
Mhm.
discretionary tools like inverted fair value gaps and all that stuff. Everybody you meet that's a good trader that trades using these systems, they will all tell you that they use maybe 30-40% of this ICT inverted value gap stuff. And then 60% of it, it's purely based on their own discretion and their own pattern recognition abilities.
Mhm.
And they can't even explain how they do it. If you talk to anybody that trades using, what one of these course sellers uses, they're going to tell you, yeah, I use some of what this course seller told me, but I also just kind of trade based on a feeling. I can kind of feel what's going to happen in the markets. And that's where the pattern recognition, that's where the IQ comes in.
Mhm.
You can, and Jeffrey Epstein talked about this. We're not fans of Jeffrey Epstein by all means,
Obviously.
but Jeffrey Epstein talked about this. He was a very good investor. He talks about how if you are good at trading, you can genuinely feel the market. You can feel what's going to happen. You can just, through your instincts, understand what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Obviously, Epstein also had like, government connections that would tell him what's going to happen. But,
Allegedly,
we're going to
allegedly,
pretend like he did it.
allegedly.
Right, right. Allegedly. We're going to pretend like he didn't. Every big investor, every big trader will tell you they can just kind of sense what's going to happen just through attrition, through experience. These people, and it's a really bad position to be in. Imagine being really good at trading and you're not able to articulate why you're good at it.
Mhm.
You can only say, I had a feeling that this was going to happen. Oh, yeah, my instincts told me this. My pattern recognition told me this. It's the worst thing ever. And if you're genuinely good at that, you can't replicate it. If you're drunk, if you're hungover, if you're old, if you're sick, maybe tomorrow you hit your head. Maybe you just like lose that. You have no way of replicating that. You just sense it somehow. And these course sellers, they all say like, yeah, you need to just kind of build this instinct. Most people will never be able to do that. A lot of people are not even like getting much value out of the courses. I think the only way to trade properly is to still build that instinct, but to do it through data. You know, quants, order flow is pretty good. You know, look at things that institutions use.
Mhm.
If most retail traders lose and most institutions win, who do you think you should trade like? Probably the institutions.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you enter on a trade and, you know, on the other side, it's an algorithm that's looking at all this data, who do you think is going to win? Probably the algorithm. Okay, great. How do you trade like that algorithm? So yeah, a big issue in the whole space is just like, honestly, people that are too stupid to trade, people that don't even know how to trade properly, and people that are trying to teach people a skill that is 70% just instincts. It's like, it's horrible. It's honestly horrible. It's one of the worst things you can do. I really hate the idea of convincing like some kid, if you just buy my course, if you just buy my mentorship, join my Discord, you can make a lot of money. I think as influencers, we have a responsibility to basically guide a lot of people that don't know any better,
Mhm.
whether they're younger, whether they're more naive, you know. And I see this not even with trading stuff, with like these political people, with these like conspiracy theorists. They'll say stuff like Charlie Kirk is secretly alive in Antarctica with like no evidence whatsoever. Or these traders, they'll say like, I made $3 million trading gold today. And you look at like the videos they have on Instagram, they can't even afford a boat. They're like on some rental, like super small boat with fake chains, promoting like an offshore account, promoting an offshore broker that got its license revoked. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but there's a lot of people like that. It's horrible.
We won't name names. We don't need to name names. I mean, it's just I think people that are watching, they'll understand exactly what we're talking about, and you just have to watch out for a lot of these red flags, you know. And I think going back to what you said, about getting a McLaren, you can go and rent a McLaren tomorrow and post videos with
Over
it
project.
and
Yeah.
make it look like you own it, but nobody's gonna know, right? At the end of the day.
To be fair, we did the math. Renting it would be like 6K a month. If we just like buy it, um, we could probably get it for like 3K a month, like just like 3K
In
monthly payments,
installments,
which is
yeah.
on. It's not even that bad.
That's like
It's not even
it's
that
like a
bad.
rent. It's like renting an apartment basically in a way.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think going back to what you said again, and when we talk about people who are selling courses, influencers that are trying to influence people to learn how to trade, at the end of the day, all you need to do is probably have I don't know what I'm not a lawyer, but I think in terms of legal means and stuff like that, you just need to have a bunch of disclaimers on all your materials that say, hey, this is for educational purposes only. If you use this stuff, that doesn't mean that you're actually going to make anything, and you can't sue me if you whatever, buy my book, buy my course, watch my videos, and then open positions on the live market in whatever assets these people are teaching you how to trade in. And if you lose money, it sucks for you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just an educational
They don't
product that I'm
even do the
selling you.
bare minimum. Dude, these people, they take money from these offshore brokers. They take money as sponsorships, these gambling deals,
Hmm.
and half the time they don't even disclose that it's an advertisement.
Mm.
It's insane. And you can just get away with anything. Like they promote so much, especially the gambling stuff, especially like the betting markets. The bare minimum telling people, I'm getting paid to promote this broker. People don't even do that. So yeah, you're right, Nikolai. It's also, technically a disclaimer is needed too in like basically all of your videos where you're, giving financial advice.
Hmm.
It's funny, FX Alex, the guy that his biggest video is like I turned $100 into a million.
Hmm.
If you read the description of the video, and people have deconstructed that video and said that the video was basically fake. Like you can look at it, you can make your own choice on that. People have looked at the video, read the description. I've read it. He said, notes. Every trade I've taken in this video is simulated. None of the trades in this video are actually real.
Hmm.
And he probably did that for legal reasons. He also probably did that because like $100 to a million in 3 months. Like, why don't you just become a billionaire at that point? Why don't you do that every 3 months then? Why don't you turn a million into a billion? Like, yeah, it's and obviously like I know a million into a billion is way more difficult with sizing. But yeah, a lot of these, like you said, a lot of them they don't even do the bare minimum. And the issue doesn't even affect the influencers, but the brokers themselves.
Mhm.
If you're a legitimate company that wants to work with an influencer and that influencer is doing undisclosed advertisements, or God forbid, you as a broker, and this is something that happens a lot, brokers will tell influencers, hey, can you tell people that you made X amount of money using our system? We're going to deposit the money in your account and we're going to pretend like you made that money.
Mhm.
I actually got that offer multiple times. Um, this Dubai, it's like this Indian guy calling from a company based in Dubai and Cyprus and also some Caribbean country. They told me they're going to put money into a crypto broker
Mhm.
so I can screenshot it and share it to my audience and show how much money I'm making. And then when my audience signs up to the broker,
Yeah.
I make money off of the money that they put into the broker. And, if the broker just goes offline because it's an offshore broker with zero regulation whatsoever, oh well, boo hoo. My audience is going to forget. I'm going to get rich. That's the playbook with all these influencers. And they just straight up gave me that offer, like not through text, but on call. And you'll see a lot of these traders do that. And you could honestly, if you have no morals, you could just make so much money pretending like you made a lot of money by trading on a broker or a prop firm
Mhm.
and just get your audience to sign up. They make so much money. There's one trader that does this. He makes so much money. And I feel like the laws are behind this because it's international companies. If it's an Australian company based in the Caribbean, you're an American influencer with a worldwide audience and, you know, you get paid in crypto, like all this shady stuff. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint down, where and what jurisdiction, what laws you're breaking,
Mhm.
but they will offer you that. And if you're a company that offers people that, I mean, enjoy it while you can, I guess. Like,
Mhm.
have fun getting arrested or indicted in the future. The UK is cracking down on that
Uh-huh.
as we speak. Um, if you're speaking to influencers, if you're sponsoring influencers that are, not disclosing that you're doing paid advertisements. And number two, if you're speaking to an influencer that's just telling people they're making more money than they are, that's just lying about their trading profits, you could also be responsible for that too. Because if you're promoting them as a trading firm and that customer of yours is saying they made X amount of money through your trading firm, that's fraud. That's illegal.
Right.
You know, it's false promotion, etc. So honestly, I think a lot of this industry is so rotten, and you've been in it, Nikolai, for longer than I have.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to hear about the stories that you have, working in depth with this. You don't have to name any names, but I'm sure you've heard some crazy stuff, crazier than me.
I mean, I've probably seen it all, or I think I've seen it all until I see something new that pops up that just kind of, is surprising. But I think going back to you've covered a lot in our conversation already, and I think going back to what you said about retail traders and institutions, right? Yeah, a lot of regulators around the world, when you look at like a forex brokerage website, you go on there, it actually tells you how many people are losing money with this broker, and it's usually, let's say, 70, 80%, maybe more, right? And that they have to disclose that the brokerages have to disclose that by law based on the regulations. But my point is not necessarily about that. My point is about the fact that if you look at it historically, um, financial markets trading, right? Back in the day, it was just stocks, right? Or like you're trading futures, you're trading like what's the price of orange juice and oil going to be in 3 months, right? Like futures markets. Then you had equities. Then you had forex, which was the big market when I got into the industry uh, in the early 2000s, right? And you look at people who are actual day traders and what you've been speaking about today. The ones that are the real day traders, they're not on Instagram, they're not on YouTube. They're just day trading at home. They have a big book of their own business, meaning they've invested their own capital for years in the trading, right? And that's not to say that they're always profitable. I know people who trade their own money, seven, eight-figure sums. That's all they do all day. That's how they make a living. But once in a while, let's say once a year, once every 2 years, they get a little greedy. And like you said, it's about, you could have a gut feeling, right? And you could be like, I have a gut feeling. I think the market's going to go this way. And sometimes that gut feeling is wrong. And I know people who've had a gut feeling that's wrong. So I completely agree with you when it comes to, a young person, somebody my generation, whatever. I'm not that old, but that's not here or there. Or somebody even older than us could be interested in trading. They can go and get free online courses. They could ask ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI today to just give you the basics, and it'll give you the basics. What is support and resistance levels, right? What is MACD? What is like a reverse breakout? These are terms that I know from working at a brokerage for many years, right? And I'm not a day trader. I don't trade. I just know these things because I looked at the online courses that we used to give new clients for free. We didn't necessarily sell it or anything like that. And it's not the kind of course that we're talking about today with respect to influencers. Like, hey, buy my course, pay 3,000, 5,000 bucks, and you're gonna make millions of dollars. But a lot of I think you would agree, but it's a question from me to you. I mean, uh, day trading or any kind of trading, whether it's long term, right, and you're holding positions for weeks and months on end, it's all based on basics. And then, like you said, it's intuition. It's how you look at the pricing, how you look at the charts, and how you interpret the data at the end of the day, right? The fine tuning happens specifically with you as a trader. Everybody does it differently. And then if I go back to the people that I'm speaking about with respect to, let's say, some colleagues or friends that I know that, they have a large amount of capital and they trade it all the time themselves, they're never going to tell me what their quote unquote secret sauce or the secret is, right? Because that's their own proprietary what do you call it, trading strategy, right? And they're never going to sell it in a course. You know what I mean? They might do webinars or something like that where they kind of explain um, the basics and or let's say more complex trading strategies, but they're not going to tell you how to basically where to enter the market and where to exit the market. I think if somebody's looking for something like that, they have to look at signal providers, which maybe we can discuss today as well if that's something that's up your alley. Because today you can go out there and you could basically purchase a subscription and get trading signals. You install basically an indicator or a bot onto like TradingView, right, the charting package, or let's say your broker's trading platform, and it basically will spit out levels where it thinks that you should buy and sell. Um, in terms of trading, right? I'm not saying that any of those signals or anything like that are also a scam. I think that everybody has to approach that with caution and kind of, if somebody's promoting that and saying, yeah, if you buy my signals, you're definitely going to make money because I've done it and these signals make money. You have to approach all of that stuff with caution and take all those statements with a grain of salt. Um, but I think the scams are getting more and more sophisticated outside of just influencers that you and I are talking about today. There's broker websites that are being cloned every day, and those clone websites are becoming more and more and more sophisticated. So what I'm seeing is basically somebody who's like, hey, this broker stole my money. And I'm like, wait, okay, that doesn't make any sense because it's a legitimate broker. It has licenses all over the world. It's been around for 20 years. I don't see any evidence anywhere of this broker being illegitimate or scamming people. And then when this customer sends like more detailed information, and I look at it and I'm like, wait, this website of this brokerage is fake. There's one letter that's missing or misspelled. It's not .com, but it's .net, right, at the end of the URL. Um, or some other variation of some kind of phishing, spoofing, whatever else. Everything else looks absolutely legitimate. Logos, disclaimers, basically it's basically a one for one copy of a legitimate website of a brokerage, right? And then you think, okay, well, how many hundreds or thousands of people went through this fake scam website, thinking that it's that legitimate broker that basically a lot of people know, right? And went through that gauntlet and lost money, right? Because ultimately that money's gone. There's no way you can find that money. You can maybe somehow find who registered that fake website and which hosting provider hosted it, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can't really do anything else with that. Those people are never going to be able to find never going to be able to find the money that they lost with that broker. And then going back to your comments about mentorship, I think that's very interesting because what I see a lot of the time is maybe not influencers per se on social media, but there's basically people out there with websites saying they'll mentor you. They're not selling a course per se. What they're saying is, hey, I can teach you how to trade with one-on-one lessons. Like you said, somebody came to you in a DM, one of your followers or clients, and was like, hey, I get it. Like, I like all the stuff that you're doing, but I want like real one-on-one instruction. Can you do that for me? There's companies out there that I've seen that are like, yeah, we actually do that. And again, you're not, you don't have to put up any money up front. You don't. They basically say, okay, we'll mentor you, but the first thing you have to do is you have to go and open a trading account at a brokerage, right? A lot of times that's an offshore brokerage somewhere in God knows where, St. Vincent or Comoros, which is a very popular quote unquote jurisdiction these days. And again, you all you need to do is open a trading account there. Okay. You go and you open that trading account. Then your mentor, sure, he starts to explain to you how to trade, what's a stop loss, what's a take profit order, right? Again, support, resistance, all this like basically basic stuff, right? Then he's like, all right, check out what I've been trading. And he shows you what he's been trading. And he'll show you screenshots, or maybe he'll even screen share with you and show you a trading platform. But there's no way for you to tell whether that's his real live account or if it's a demo account, right? Or if it's someone else's account and he's just showing it to you basically because he wants to show you profits that have been made. And then after all of that, let's say after a couple of weeks, uh, they encourage you. They say, look, I think you're ready to actually start trading the markets yourself. Okay, great. And that's when that person basically is, I would say, enticed to deposit money. Now, they're not giving that money to the mentor. They're depositing it into their own trading account at the brokerage that they have. And it's the person's own account. The mentor doesn't necessarily have access to it. But the mentor has a relationship with that broker, right? Like a referral, like what you've been saying, affiliate links and things like that. There's referral relationships where you basically get paid. If you refer that client, you get paid on volume, right? That client trades, you get paid based on the fact that that client was trading with you. If that brokerage is making money off of that client, and obviously we can say, okay, if the client's losing, then the broker's winning, the broker may rev share with you, right? They'll give you a percentage of the profits that they made off that client. And that's where that relationship becomes valuable to this mentor, right? He's been teaching that person for a couple of weeks, maybe a month. Afterwards, that person starts trading at that brokerage. They literally put on real trades, gold, oil, euro, dollar, whatever it may be, buy some Netflix shares, indices of Netflix shares, whatever it may be. And there's trading going on. And the mentor continues to basically try to educate the client. And then after a while, the mentor, let's say the trading is not going great. The mentor will say, okay, that's fine. What I think you should do is basically double up your position because the market's probably going to shift the other way soon. And that's when this mentorship starts to get really, really dicey. And it's a gray area and you can't really tell, okay, um, is this is this a scam or not, right? At the end of the day, that mentor has an incentive for that client to lose money or at least to continue trading, right? Because he gets paid from it. And so that's something that I see on my
That's
side.
best case scenario. Worst case scenario, that broker just shuts down and takes all your money after you invest.
That's worst case. That usually doesn't happen. That broker just continues to live. But it's just the fact that it has clients who come and basically one of the funnels that the clients come in through is a situation like that where there's mentors out there that are basically telling you,
Mm.
I'll mentor you, but in order for me to do that, you have to open a brokerage account. And obviously those mentors have relationships with those brokers. That's just one of hundreds and hundreds of things that I've seen, and different things that have been going on, let's say, in my side of the industry for many many years. And then there's the thing called managed account trading, right? Or let's say copy trading. It's very popular with like forex brokers and things like that. I think it's even something that's allowed at some prop firms, I think, where you could just basically open an account and then follow someone else's trades. So you don't even have to trade yourself. You don't even have to know trading. You just deposit money, and then you're presented with basically, uh, you know, a list of traders that do actually have live accounts and they trade, and you could basically click a button and basically your account will mimic their account. So whatever positions they open, whatever positions they close, however much risk they take, you can basically set those parameters on your account and it'll just trade for you. You know what I mean? You don't have to really do anything yourself. That's become very popular in my side of the industry too. I'm not going to say that copy trading or traders that provide copy trading are scams in any way. That's not the case. It's just a very easy way to basically invest money today. If you just want to sit on the couch and not actually go through the process of learning what is support, what is resistance, what's a limit order, what's a reversal, and things like that, and sit there for weeks and months, and look at charts and play with understand your emotions. Because if you're trading live money, whether it's equities, forex, crypto, or whatever markets you're trading on, there's a lot of emotions going on, and you know that much better than I do.
Definitely. Something like that happened actually. Someone pretended to be me in my Discord server. They messaged someone that joined my server using my name profile picture, got them to join a brokerage and offered a free mentorship. They put 5 grand into the brokerage. The brokerage disappeared overnight. One of the reasons I want to be rich is so people like this can eat out of the tube for the rest of their lives. Like, it's horrible. I want to speak about what you said prior, which was that most traders are trading blindly and that they kind of build a system discretionarily.
Uh-huh.
That most traders use the same foundation. I totally disagree. I think, or you said the good traders do that. I want to say most traders are like that because the only tool that most traders have is TradingView, these random indicators that have been around for years
Yeah.
that have lost all their alpha if they ever had any in the first place. And maybe they have order flow and some more tools. And they build a system off that, and that's a discretionary system. Sure, that just goes to show that, you know, they're trading blindly. Because if you ever speak to a quant, if you ever speak to somebody that manages real capital,
Mhm.
and if you ever tell them, "Oh, yeah, I just trade based on instinct. I can't explain why I did that." They're going to laugh at your face and call you an idiot.
Sure.
No real trader will, with a straight face, tell you, "My strategy is trading just purely based on instinct, and I'm okay with that." You know, people will say, "Yeah, I did instinct here. I don't know why I did it. I wish I knew why I did it." But to build your entire strategy based off of staring at like a blank trading view chart with random lines, it's the worst thing you can do as a trader. You're basically, it's like you're trying to solve a Rubik's cube in the dark,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
sure, you could potentially solve it based on like the sounds of the Rubik's cube, or you can turn on the light and see what's happening, you know? So, I mean, I'm not here to promote my software, but really what we're doing is we are visualizing data that typically only hedge funds have. We see, institutional liquidity zones and we trade based on that. Um, That's why, we can put on someone that's pretty new to trading and they were able to succeed. This is not an income claim. If you're an idiot, please do not follow me. Do not interact with my community. But, you know, it's really something like if you can put yourself into a position where you don't actually have to use 100% of your brain every time to trade, that's the only way you can be a good trader. You know, it's the only way because you can't expect to always be at 100%. You can't expect always to. They say that like 10% of you is conscious, 90% is unconscious, or like some crazy thing like that. Whatever that percentage is, whatever that ratio is, if it's insane. It's like a doctor saying, "Oh yeah, I perform most of my surgeries based on what feels right." Sure, you know, would you trust a doctor that says that?
Of course not.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
Obviously not. At that point, you're just gambling. It's like you're playing poker. You're literally playing poker. There's some good poker players, sure. At least good poker players, they still use math.
Yeah.
Every good poker player, they still know the math, the stochastic probabilities. So I totally disagree. If you're someone that thinks they can get good at trading by just staring at a trading view chart and drawing lines based off some YouTube course or an actual course you paid for or a mentorship, you are cooked. Either go to school, pick up a textbook, learn quantitative analysis, or join our community and go visualize it for you.
Well, I think you may have misunderstood me a little bit. What I was trying to say is that um, these sort of signal providers, those signals are actually analyzing data, right? So they're analyzing sentiment and basically looking at MACDs, you mentioned stochastics, that like automatic light bulb in my head. I'm like, oh, stochastics. I remember stochastics. Um, and all the other basically tools that are in the most sort of rudimentary charting packages that we all know, right? Like all the data analysis that's there. Obviously, today you can take all that data, you could put it and run it through software, and it will basically analyze it much quicker than your brain ever could before, right? With the technology that we have today. So it's on the one hand, it's kind of like I would say, okay, rudimentary, lazy trading, right? Because you're like, oh, it just analyzes everything for me, and it's telling me, okay, this is where the reversal is probably going to happen here. That's what the indicator said. But ultimately, I'm the one looking at that area on the chart that it says the reversal might happen there. At least me personally, right? I don't actually trade with live money. I just look at it and sort of analyze it. But when I look at it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's right. And I don't have the answer to that question. I have no idea because I don't actually trade. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
invest any capital in trading because I know that I'm not good at it. So I'm not gonna do it. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's very good that you admit that because a lot of people wouldn't. Um, I feel like regarding the signal groups, the only signal groups that are worth it are like 6 figures or more. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, because if someone's selling a signal group or like maybe like a high 5 figures, if someone's selling a signal group for a couple $100, for a couple $1,000,
Hmm.
you're giving away your edge, first of all. And second of all, it goes to show how low they value their product.
Hmm.
We don't sell signals. First off, you have to be regulated to sell signals. A lot of people selling signals are straight up doing it illegally.
Sure.
But a lot of these signals, like you said, yeah, you can combine every, indicator, but like these indicators don't work at all. Like they're not useful in the first place. Sure, maybe, there's a little bit of, MACD. I've never seen it work personally or for anyone I know,
Hmm.
but there's there's beauty in simplicity. And if you try to combine 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different indicators, you're just working with like so much conflicting data.
Hmm.
And most importantly, these indicators, they're lagging. They don't tell you what's going to happen. They tell you what's already
Right.
happened. By the time it happened, cooked.
Yeah.
You can use an indicator. Indicators are great for content creators because you can say, hey, look at this indicator trade
Hmm.
because it already happened. you can see what happened in the past. I like probabilities. I like quant because it tells you what's gonna happen in the future,
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know?
mhm. I agree with you there because, again, like you said, a lot of the indicators, they analyze what happened in the past, and, like, what I just told you that, like, if I look at again, a reversal zone, right? I'll look at a chart, and that software will tell me, okay, this zone, this price zone, right, on the chart, that's where the reversal might happen, right? I always look at that with doubt, like, and I don't trade, but when I look at it, right, and I'm like, if I did trade, would I actually trust this thing, right? Would I actually be like, okay, all right, I believe the fact that the reversal might be in this 20, 30 pip range, right? When
Mhm.
I look at it, I don't feel confident when I look at that. You know what I mean?
Have you ever gotten scammed?
Have I ever what?
Gotten scammed.
Almost, almost, but it wasn't related to trading. It wasn't related to trading. It was about a tax refund. I basically got a text message um, from the Ministry of Finance of Cyprus, where I live today, and it said, "Hey, your VAT refund is ready." And I was actually expecting a legitimate refund of like VAT taxes, which we pay here in Europe. And I was like, okay, I know that I'm due for a VAT refund, so I'm like, okay, this makes sense, right? Logically in my head, but I didn't think of the fact that it's strange that they're sending me a text message with a link, because the Ministry of Finance or the IRS in the US, or I don't know what the tax authorities are called in Canada, but they wouldn't send you an SMS. They send you a letter in the mail or maybe like an official email, right? They don't send you a text message. But anyway, I was busy, I was distracted, and I was like, "Oh yeah, 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 VAT refund." And I clicked on that link, and it started taking me through it took me to by the way, it took me to a clone website. So it's basically a website that looks just like the official Ministry of Finance of Cyprus website. It was a clone, but it looked legitimate. And it was like, okay, well, in order for us to give you whatever refund, you have to fill out all this information. I started filling it out, and then I'm like, wait a minute, they don't need any of this information from me in order to issue me a refund. I know that for a fact because I sent all of this information to the official ministry a while ago. They already have all this stuff. All they need to do is basically give me a piece of paper that says, okay, we calculated everything. Here's how much, whatever, however many euros you're going to get back, right? So at that point, at that moment, while I was already filling all this information out, I stopped and I was like, wait a minute, something's strange here. And I contacted my accountant, and because he's the one that like was like, hey, you have to submit all this stuff and get a refund. And basically, long story short, I contacted him, and he basically said, Nick, you're a dumbass, in layman's terms. He's like, you're a dumbass because the ministry does not send text messages, and you should have never clicked on that link. And because I actually put some information, some personal information on that scam website, I had to basically go and change passwords to bank accounts, cancel debit cards, all this stuff. And I had to basically get a whole new brand. You know what I mean? Like I basically had to close accounts and basically start anew just because I did that. And I was at a conference last year in Hong Kong, and I actually said this story. I told this story on stage, and the point of me telling that story last year was I've been in the financial space for almost 20 years, and I almost got scammed. I'm not shy or afraid to say that at that moment I was a dumbass. You know what I mean? Like I kind of let my guard down. But I guess my warning to everybody, to our viewers and the people at the conference last year is, look, you could be financially literate, you could be like very proficient in what you do, how you protect your data, how you protect your information, but at the end of the day, it's like trust but verify everything. Whatever you're sent, whoever sends you anything, et cetera, et cetera. Like trust but verify. It sounds weird. A lot of times it's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I mean, if your girlfriend texts you, you're not gonna be like, "Hey, I'm not sure if you're my girlfriend, and this is a legitimate text message." No, I mean that's crazy. But when it comes to financial matters, I think my example, which I'm not afraid to talk about it, and I'm not whatever shy about it, is that like you have to be ultra careful because someone like me who thought, no, 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 I could never get scammed. I know all this stuff. I can see it every day. I see it every day, so I know how to sort of protect myself and what links in emails not to click on, what like even physical mail you get in the States, in America, you get all kinds of very shady, weird, strange physical mail delivered to your address, and you look at it and it looks weird, looks official. You're like, oh my god, it says that I owe money to somebody. And then you start to really look at it, read the fine print, and you're like, no, this is like bullshit. This is some bullshit company trying to offer me some sort of fake service. And a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people fall for this stuff and they send money, which, they'll never they'll never see again. And it sucks. It really, really sucks.
You know what the worst part of it is? Most of these scammers live happily ever after. Like, they make money, they feed their family, they maybe get pardoned by the president. You know, they just they just live their life as normal and nothing happens to them. That's the worst part of it, honestly, that, almost all the time, they just get away with it.
Well, I think, I mean, like you said, the UK authorities are cracking down on, if we're talking about influencers, and I know we're going to like sort of switch lanes again and switch topics a little bit. But if we talk about like influencers, the UK is doing something about it. The Middle East also, the regulator there actually came out recently. I think it was a couple weeks ago, and there was an investigation by actually our media friends, another media company that did an investigation, and they're like, there's an official list of influencers that I guess are registered in the Middle East with, I guess, the regulators or authorities there, and there was an investigation done, and like when they looked at who are these people and what are they actually promoting, I mean, it was sort of like the kind of stuff that we started our conversation out with, right? The Lambo down the street in Miami, or hypothetically speaking, like that kind of stuff. And it just goes to show you that, I think it goes to show you that people are starting to wake up to this. Regulators are starting to wake up to it. The general public is starting to wake up to it, because if we take a look at influencers globally, not just in trading and finance, right? Think about how many influencers there are selling fitness products and fitness routines, and I'll help you lose weight, or I'll help you get in shape, right? That's been around longer than the financial influencers have, right? And I know I've seen examples of people selling those kind of courses and selling that kind of stuff and getting into trouble, where again it was ultimately, people are like, I'm not losing any weight, you know what I mean, and I'm not feeling any better about myself, and eventually those people, I've seen this on the news, those people went to jail eventually. There was investigations done, and then people were convicted of fraud and went to jail. So at the end of the day, just like it is always in life, and especially in with the financial space too, there's a lot of shady, or let's say, or scammy stuff that goes on. Sure, like you said, sure, a lot of scammers do get away with it, but there are cases where, a lot of them are punished. If whether it's restitution in terms of the money that they made, and victims get their money back, or people get sent to jail, right? And as an example to everyone else, and the space gets cleaned up. But I think I agree with you in the sense that it's going to take a lot more effort globally from many different parties around the world, regulators, the general public, governments, right? Um, to really, really kind of curtail this and clean this up. And the question is, will it ever get cleaned up? We don't know, to the extent that it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the message that you're sending is good. I obviously don't wanna encourage anybody to I don't wanna tell anyone you're gonna get away with it if you do it. I'm way more black pilled on it than you are. I mean, I see especially these people that just, like, do it anonymously. Yeah, if you're doing it with your face, it's one thing. Some of these people, man, I mean, you've seen the Trump, Malay, Kanye rug pull with the crypto stuff. Insane. Billions of dollars taken from consumers and nothing happens. Just like, yeah, whatever. Nobody got in trouble for it. Nobody got arrested. No, it's like nobody cares. I feel like we're living like at the end of history. Like very soon, I feel like something's gonna collapse. Or I don't know, bro. Like we're living in a very. I feel like this is the kind of stuff that's supposed to happen in like Russia, where you could just pay the government and get away with it. But now it's happening everywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. I think Ivan, we're gonna have to what do you call it? We're gonna have to have a separate podcast episode on that because that's a whole different beast to get into.
yeah, you're
You know
right.
what I
You're
mean?
right.
But
Yeah, I don't want to
I
get you in
feel
trouble either.
no, no, I feel where you're coming from. I think that kind of stuff is something that is more sort of on a global geopolitical economic scale that's completely out of our control, and there's nothing that we can us ants can do about it. You
What are
know
you,
what I mean?
bro? What are you saying? What are you saying? I'm about to be up there. I need you to see the vision. I need you to see the vision. What do
Well,
you mean?
let's schedule another podcast episode soon, and we could tackle those questions too. Because you and I spoke offline, what I think a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
We're not gonna say about what, but I think we kind of nailed down some other topics that we want to discuss that are more of on a global scale. But I think today's conversation was very important because I think it sheds light on again a lot of the things that our viewers and your viewers sort of deal with every day. They see advertisements, they see these people online, YouTube, social media, etc., and they're like, okay, that looks interesting. Maybe I can make some money. Hmm. Wow. Okay. Really? That's possible. Like you said, $100 to $1 million, et cetera, et cetera. Or wow, I also want to drive a Ferrari and have a Gucci bag and whatever else, right? The consumerism stuff and
It
bling and
just
everything
goes
like that.
like, I think day trading in general is one of the most, um, the whole investing space it's in a way, it's a very, I don't know if masculine is the right word, but it's like a killer be killed kind of situation where everywhere you look, someone is out to get you.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the market is against you. It's rigged in a sense. And every time you lose, it's your fault. But you can also make an insane amount of money at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're literally in a minefield and everyone's trying to kill you and take your money. You don't know who to trust. And the reward for it is insane. The reward is amazing. But just due to the nature of it, it's really true. Most people will lose. Most people are hooked,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like if you have anger issues, you should not be day trading. If
No.
you're self-intelligent, do not day trade. There's a lot of things you need to factor. If you're not on QuantMap, obviously you should not be day trading, things like that.
If you have high blood pressure, you probably shouldn't be day trading. I'm not a doctor, but I mean
Yeah.
that's just my theory. But anyway, I think to wrap things up, the last thing I wanted to say is there's a famous newsletter out there and a Twitter account called Zero Hedge. I'm sure you've heard of Zero Hedge. Um, and the thing that Zero Hedge says every single day when the U.S. stock market closes is casino closed. And I think that goes to a little bit to your last point that you just made. So it's definitely hard out there. It's definitely hard out there. But um, Ivan, I wanted to thank you for taking the time out to speak with me today, long distance from Toronto, Canada. I wanted to thank you for giving us all the inside look, sort of about fin influencers and kind of your experience in building a quantitative trading business and sort of the younger generation of traders and how to look out for scams and how to really find your way in day trading today, and things like that. Let's definitely schedule another episode soon, and I think we can tell our audience that there'll be some more written publications from you on Finance Feeds coming up as well, because I think there's a couple of other things that you wanted to share in written form with our readers. Yeah?
Yes. Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to. Do you think
Awesome.
we're gonna get, like, one of those interview style articles based on this podcast
Yeah,
where,
of
like, it
course.
shows my face? Look cool?
Yeah, of
That'd be
course.
awesome.
Of course, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Great.
all right. Well, I wanted to thank you again. And wish you the best of luck. We'll see you soon, and we hope our audience enjoyed our discussion today. And we'll see you soon. Thanks.